We are live and welcome to
Welcome
welcome to the
back.
day 3 preview of the third test match. If you guys have joined us, thank you so much for that. It's a Saturday afternoon. Or not going out for lunch or just going out or just not sleeping in and tuning into us just means a lot. So if you're joining in
Yeah.
for the first time in this live or for the first time ever on our lives, hit that like because it'll push this live to a lot more people. We have a lot of segments. We will talk about what India needs to do, what the English might do, things to watch out for, players to watch out for, a stat, technical tidbit, and we'll address the chat. Yeah, we will be here for a bit. Hey Srikanth, hi Vignesh, hi Arif, hi Vignesh once
What's up?
again.
What's up, lads?
Hi Lokesh, hi Yuvraj and Arvind. It's good to see some of you guys on a Saturday afternoon. If you don't know already, we will do this every day of the test match, of all test matches, pre and post. That is 2:30 pre-match, 2:45 pre-day, the next day that is, and then 11:30 p.m. post-match or 12 depending on when the day ends. So yes, that is that. We'll wait for a couple of minutes before we get on with our live. We have few interesting things to talk about. It's an interesting day to look forward to because India is coming out to bat, and you would hope that India bats next 3 days, scores 1,500 runs, and sets a world record. I
Crazy.
only said this because someone said we are knowledgeable. This is where our knowledge stops. But at last, second chance, I have survived lockdown, man. Not funny. Oh, all right, I have
Can
no idea.
India bounce back? We'll take your questions. I think the game is only slightly tilted towards England. I
True.
think today, as I had actually predicted, would be the most important day of the test.
Oh yeah, that's
Seemingly,
oh
that is
yeah,
the
and you did
case.
predict that India is going to bat on day 3. If you go back to a pre-match and where Praatibh did his PP, and that's Praatibh predictions, he did talk about how India bat day
Yeah.
3. All right, Tanuj, let's get on with it. Let's talk about the pitch. How is the pitch going to play out?
All right, so very interesting development of the pitch on the first day. It was on the slower side, but it was still pretty good to bat on. That changed a bit yesterday. That was day two, wherein the pitch got considerably faster. There was a little bit in it for the seamers as well as the spinners. And I expect it to be the same. Of course, there is one thing that India needs to take note of, and that is that they can use the heavy roller this morning. So in the first hour, hopefully there's not much happening. But I could be completely wrong here because yesterday, day two, we saw a lot happening in those first 30-45 minutes. So that'll be interesting to see if that is an attribute of the ball or the pitch itself. Conditions continue to remain dry, so the sun is going to be beating down on that pitch. It is going to start to get quicker, but it's also going to start cracking up. Possibly today is still a good day to bat. Tomorrow too should be okay. But yeah, I think overall it you as a batter you need to apply yourself, and as a bowler you need to possibly put an effort into getting a batter out. It's not going to be easy for either side, but good cricket will be rewarded.
All right, that is the pitch. Let's talk about Wits against the Brits and what India needs to do against the English side. Sahil, it's the weekend. I get to join live for the first time. That is great. It's great to have you here for the first time. All right, let's talk about what India needs to do. India's 145 for 3. KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant on strike. I don't think it's emphasized enough when said that India is in a very tricky situation, right? We still trail by more than 250 runs, I'm assuming. Yeah, more than 250 runs. So it's still a long way to go. If in the first 30 minutes you lose 2 wickets, you're 160 for 2, trailing again by more than 200 runs.
160 for 5.
Oh yeah, sorry, 160 for 5. You're still trailing by more than 200 runs, and then it becomes trickier and trickier, and then you're in the back foot. So I think someone else's first are going to be crucial. First hour of any test match of any starting day is always crucial. But how does India go about scoring runs? Because yesterday, like the English side, it was a very slow day for the batter. You have to stick in, you have to grind it out, you have to put the loose deliveries away, but you also have to make sure you're putting a price on your wicket. Good, I would say good enoughly. I don't even that's a word. The good part is yesterday, except Jaiswal, where he was squared up, we've talked about it. Everyone did put their price on the wicket, and it is something that we will need to see today too. KL Rahul, we know would usually do that, but it's his batting partner that I'm thinking about. Rishabh Pant will have to play a very crucial knock. Of course, he will do what he does. He did that yesterday, taking apart Shoaib Bashir every opportunity that he got. But I think Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul will need to stick on. It's easy to say that we should at least, not we should. the maximum wickets we can lose by lunch is one, but the ideal and the perfect scenario would be none. To have both Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, both senior men, one vice captain, one who's been in the circuit for the longest time, to have both of them in going into lunch and coming out to bat after lunch would be the perfect scenario. Of course, this is not something that would I mean hopefully ideally happens, but if it doesn't happen, someone also asked what would the English bowlers do. I think they will do what they did yesterday. Archer will start off. I'll be shocked if he doesn't. He'll start off with a good spell, try swinging the ball, seaming the ball, put it in areas where the players need to, where the batters will need to play their shots. But yeah, like I said, I think Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul will have a lot on their hands. They will have a long day ahead. They will have to bat for the longest time. I don't think it's about the amount of runs you score because this is in the flattest of decks. Runs don't come easy. So it will be about batting for as long as you possibly can, crawling through that the number that you're trailing by and making sure you get as close to the number as possible. It's different that after lunch, if you still have no wickets fallen, if Rishabh Pant wants to go for it, then he should. But I think until then, I think Rishabh Pant, I don't think he'll play in a shell. I just think he needs to be a little more careful, and that it's a tricky situation if that's what you're telling him. But from the outset, is what I hope. The way he played yesterday, I thought Rishabh Pant played extremely well yesterday. A lot of people think that's also because of injuries, but he also played a lot of shots that included his bottom hand, so I don't know how much that's affecting him. I just hope KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant put a price on the wicket. Of course, if it's a good ball, you could possibly get out. That's absolutely fine. We just don't want to see them getting out slashing at one or just hitting a ball in the air. So that's that. That's what the Indian batters need to do. Let's talk about Fin to win.
All right, players to watch out for is going to be interesting. Obviously, Ashwin did speak about KL Rahul as well as Rishabh Pant. But even beyond that, I think someone I'm really looking forward to today is Nitish Kumar Reddy. And I say this because he has not got scores in the recent past. There are some knives going up at him. And so he will want to put a price on his wicket. He has got the experience of having played that second test in England. Unlucky that he missed out in the second innings, I'd like to say, because he had to go for it. And so it'll be interesting to see because very likely if NKR comes in today and if he comes in soon, it is going to be a crunch situation in any scenario. Even if KL as well as Pant bat out for a while, even if they get a 200, okay, or a 150 run partnership, that's still NKR coming in with India trailing by 150 odd. So it's going to be a really good opportunity for him, and he'd like to show that he can come out, he can play the situation, he can play the pressure situation well, and he has the technique. I mean, he's looked solid in Australia, and that's why that he's one player that I really would like to watch out for and want to do well today.
All right, let's. Prasanna says, sorry. What's late in breath? Prasanna says we need a lead of at least 40. Is this possible? What do you guys think? All right, yeah, lead of 40 would be very ideal. It's just getting there. I think with 3 wickets down, a lead of 40, a lead of
A,
10.
a lead.
Yeah, India
Yeah.
would take a lead. Like, yeah, I don't think it's emphasized enough of how tricky of a situation this is for the Indian team. I think it is very tricky. Couple of wickets down. England is not even right back up. They're on top of the game, and then
True.
it's for them to lose. Right. What are the things to watch out for?
Other things, the things to watch out for obviously is how Pant also goes today because we know that he's battling that injury. Looked pretty okay yesterday with the
Yeah.
bat, did not seem to have reasons that made him look out of sorts or whatever.
True.
But we did see the physio come out, put the spray and all of that. So it'll be interesting to see how Pant goes. If there's any change in his tempo and all of that, that's one thing. Joffre Archer will be interesting to
True.
see.
It's a whole day of bowling.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully. The thing is, he started off really well, balled at good pace, but his pace did come down a
Yes,
bit
it
in
did.
the next couple of spells. So does he come back fresh today? How long can he sustain that pace? And I think that's mostly it. How the pitch plays will be important. But
How Bashir does today, because he
yeah,
didn't
there is
really do
spin.
much. He didn't spin a lot, and every time, I mean, he bowled a couple of loose deliveries. I think yesterday was one of the worst spells he's ever had in this Test series, especially after the criticism that he's got after the second Test match. I don't think it was the best of starts. So the way Bashir goes on will be important for England, but also for India, because if you're not getting runs off the fast bowlers, they will look to get runs off the spinner. All right, let's talk about quick wit and Brit, and that is couple of stats.
All right, so we bombarded you with stats yesterday, so it was a pain to find some stats today as well. But here we are. The first one being Bumrah is only behind Ishant Sharma for most Test wickets in England.
Yeah,
Bumrah is
Ishant Sharma has
currently
51 wickets.
and Bumrah is at 47. Very soon he's going to break that record.
You
Let's
would
hope.
hope.
Only 3 batters have more centuries at any ground than Joe Root has at Lords. So Joe Root has 8 centuries at Lords, and there are 3 batters who at different grounds have more centuries. Which batters they are, we will have to look that up, or that's homework for you all.
Fair.
England have scored 30 out of their 33 300 plus scores at a run rate of more than 4 runs per over under Baz
Which is
McCallum.
insane when you think about it. Which is also why the first innings score, and I think, yeah, the first innings of this test match was one of the slowest, if not the slowest. But
This last one, something that is exciting and also not exciting because the last time India won a test at Lords while fielding first was in 1986. That also their first win at Lords? Yes, it was.
yeah, probably.
So India are up
And they
against
went on to win the
the
series in
series as
86.
well. Yeah, India are up against a bit of the impossible.
All right, let's go to the technical tidbit.
All right, so this is an interesting one, right? And something that's been talked about a lot.
Oh, Joe Root is back, and of course the catch was fair. There's no debate on that.
Yeah, fair. I'm going to coming. Okay, it's gone. Cool. So there's a lot of conversation, and it's been happening for the last test match at least, of how the Indian bowlers are able to get more out of the pitch or even in the air. Sorry, as compared to the English counterparts. And RP Singh brought up a very interesting point in comms, which is the seam position and why the Indians are getting more out of the pitch. Now, here's the thing, right? Generally, what you'll see with the new age English bowlers is that there is an inclination to ball wobble seam deliveries. And so what is happening is that often the ball is not landing entirely on the seam itself. Whereas when you look at the Indian bowlers, when you look at someone like a Mohammad Siraj, if you look at NKR, for example, very traditional in their release and their seam positions. They're still looking to ball the traditional outswingers or the inswingers with the seam position uh, being used in a very orthodox manner, not much of the wobble. And that's also because the Indian bowlers don't have much experience using the wobble other than Siraj to some extent. And because of that, because of how pronounced the seam is and because of how the seam lands on the pitch, the Indian bowlers are able to get a lot more out of the pitch as compared to the English bowlers in the same condition.
All right, that's been the technical tidbit. Let's address the chat. Whoa, that was a quick transition, and here we are. It's always a weekend thing where not a lot of people join our live, which I
Yeah,
don't blame people.
lads,
Saturday.
can we drop some likes? Can we get the stream up? 18 likes, let's get it to 50 with 49 viewers in.
All right, why Bumrah bowling so many overs? Workload management, right? I mean, he's got a break of.
Plus, I think between this test and the next, there's again long break.
Yeah, and I also think he wanted to go for his 5. That's predominantly why. India fielding is going downhill match by match. They really need to do something about it. I don't think so. I think we dropped one catch, yes, which should have been taken, but it was fine.
Drop 2, right? Jurel. KL was day before? Where was it?
Oh, yeah, Jurel dropped, yes. Yeah, he dropped.
But I think on the fielding bit, even England struggled. It has a fair bit to do with, I think, the outfields also. Or maybe even the Duke's ball.
True.
Never know. If it's just popping out of your hands, that's one thing. But I would say that India needs to find someone secure at gully. NKR was struggling a bit. It was hot and
He
cold.
struggles with the
Jaiswal too.
ball that's coming straight to him, and then the one that he needs to dive, he can easily do it. You know what's interesting? So Akash Deep also balls wobble, right? No, he has a beautiful representation of the seam. He's very shummy, like he can bowl the wobble seam,
Yeah.
but he doesn't predominantly do that. All right, I like the video. Joe would appreciate that a lot.
Thanks, Joe.
Akash and Akash and Jurel dropped it. Can KL Rahul play the Pujara's role in this team?
I feel like he already is in the sense that he takes his time, he grinds the opposition out. So yeah, I think he's already doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I think with today's play, I think Pant and KL Rahul, the way they will go about the innings will be important. And I think two different style of play. I feel like Pant will. Yesterday, in fact, that's what he did. I mean, he did up the ante for a bit. KL Rahul was again able to play in his shell. And I think he put the bad balls away. That's also how he got to his. Oh, he hasn't scored.
KL has got to.
Yeah, yeah, that's also how he got to his 50. And so, damn, the scorecard just went blank in my head. But yeah, I think it'll be important for the style of play for these guys to coordinate and help each other. But I also think it works because of the kind of batters that they are. The partnership of Cars and Smith might just be a match defining moment. We'll find out in the next 3 days. If India trail by more than 50, England will get the game. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, Cars and Smith, that would I mean, if it does cost us, that partnership would have.
Cost us 60, 70 extra runs minimum.
What happened to Shubman Gill? What
Nothing. I
happened?
think he just got a peach of a delivery. He was batting extremely well. I think faultless inning. Even the dismissal was just a really good ball.
Wobble almost ended with almost it ended Virat and Babar Azam's Test career. How does Root counter the wobble seam? It's almost the same way how KL counters the wobble seam.
It
But
late.
can you explain it?
Nothing more to it. I think just there's a couple of things actually, right? One is off stump awareness, which is important because most wobble deliveries will nip in. And so it becomes important to know where your off stump is so that you're leaving well. That's
True.
one thing. A lot of the reasons why a lot of batters would play at those deliveries is because they were possibly not sure where the off stump is. And so if it held its line, they would take the outside edge. And if it nipped back in, then there's a gap between bat. So that's one thing, off stump awareness. And the other thing is playing late.
Yeah, so if you look at Virat Kohli, he likes to play on the front foot, meets the ball very early, very late, very early. And whereas if you look at KL Rahul or Joe Root, they meet the ball very, very late. Why it's so hard to score runs freely this match? Like every run seems to be earned. Is there any technical explanation for it?
Uh, there's a technical explanation for most things,
Yeah.
but
But for this, I just think it's the pitch. I think the pitch is seaming both ways. It's there's an extra bounce every now and then. It's swinging too. I mean, of course, when the ball gets old, there is not much swing. But we saw with Shubman Gill's dismissal that even when the ball is getting old, there's movement off the pitch. There is seam. And so I think this is the most we have seen in this test match. And it becomes a little more difficult when the ball is swinging and seaming and there's an extra bounce every now and then. Especially when there's variation of bounce from different ends, it becomes a lot more difficult. So I think it has a lot to do with the pitch and the bowling, of course, but yeah, mostly the pitch.
yeah, and something else that you guys can actually kind of take note of is the difference in the kind of bowler. Like with Archer, he's coming in bowling 145,
True.
150, and at the other end, you have Vokes who's bowling 125, 130. That in itself is a tough adaptation.
Abhiraj, to be devil's advocate, so he asked, can someone explain why we put Kohli and Babar Azam in the same bracket? It's because of the struggles that they have had. He didn't say anything about the kind of players that they are.
Yeah.
Just they struggle with the same thing, or they have struggled with the same thing. Will BCCI PR make Shubman Gill deepen his voice? Now I should read. It's a
I
funny.
mean, it'll be interesting to see if by the end of his career he's taken some voice
That's true.
enhancing
Do you
coaching.
think the 2018 series had tougher pitches compared to 2021? Interesting. We will have
Yeah,
to look.
but I think so because in the innings that I can recall, even in the centuries that Kohli scored, there were chances. There were a lot of chances. There's
Oh yeah, that's
constant
true.
movement.
Will fourth innings be tougher here, like chasing 225, 250? It does seem to be tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Do you think Rohit Sharma countered the wobble seam very well in 2021?
Yes, he did. And again, it's the same thing. We've
Left
actually
the ball quite a
yeah, he
bit.
left the ball a lot, very aware of his off stump, but he also played very, very late. And I'll have to remember the exact technical bit, but we've done a video on this. Compared his England technique to the one he had in the BGT, where he kept getting out in the same fashion, caught on the crease. So you guys can probably check that out, and we'll probably get back to you on this.
Is there any awkward bounce on the pitch, or it was just the Archer was extracting extra bounce? I mean, Archer bowling at that pace, he bowled the fastest over in this Test series so far.
I think you'll also notice is Archer does not necessarily much wobble seam.
Yeah.
He's also very uses the
Oh yeah.
seam.
So there is extra bounce every now and then, but that Archer over was just pure pace. What do you think of the stat that India loses more tests with Bumrah than without? I think it's a variation thing. I think India's played more matches without Bumrah when India would know that they would generally go on to win games. They've rested Bumrah. Unlike, of course, there's also always an outlier like the second test match in this series where India went on to win. But yeah, Bumrah just plays on tougher conditions, tougher Senatos, tougher teams is what I'm assuming. We'll actually have to look it up. But yeah, that is what the breakdown would be. If NKR and Washi play a Smith cast type innings this match, then Thakur and Kuldeep should just book their flights back home. They're not getting in. Yeah, Thakur will be
I think Thakur is
like stats showing India. Yeah. I think the last 116 runs with the last 3 wickets will hurt.
yeah, they will. I think they already are. We are already under pressure to score.
Guys, your volume is very, very low. Turn up the mic volume. It's not our volume, it's as in it's our human volume. Because you're not well. The volume is almost completely high,
Yeah.
if anything. There's something about how sick we are. All right, has Shubman corrected his faulty technique for incoming deliveries? What do you guys think? Or have the England bowlers haven't exposed it much? Archer tried a lot yesterday, but Gill put them away. This is something actually we thought we would talk about today, but Shubman Gill isn't batting today, so we thought it would make
Yeah.
no sense. But do you want to talk about this?
Just briefly touch upon it. He has
Oh,
improved
we
his
did
technique.
talk about
We've
this.
spoken about
Oh,
this.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, it's got a lot to do firstly with him not falling across. Like his foot is not coming right in front, and almost like his front foot's not kind of going.
Yeah, but it's also it also has a lot to do with his bat angle. So every his back lift used to come from third slip, second, third slip, and now it comes much straighter. And what happens when your bat comes much straighter is there is no gap, and your bat is coming in an angle. Your bat is so when your bat is coming in an angle, there is a gap that you're trying to fill. Except when your bat is coming straight, there is no gap because your bat is coming as straight as possible. So that's something Shubman Gill has worked on. There are two things. His bat is coming down straighter, and unlike before, where his forward defense used to be next to his pads, a lot of the times, also where nib backers used to hit his pads,
LBW.
even if his defense was good enough. But now that he's playing, every time he makes a conscious effort. He has a long stride, which I commend him for, which is what he used to struggle with early on in his innings. But not only does he have a long stride, he makes sure his bat is ahead of his pad. He makes such a conscious effort. So every time you see him play a defense against the fast bowlers, you will notice the effort he's putting in. So I think he's made a change. Good on him. That was his biggest weakness, and I don't think you can get him out just bold between bat and pad. Even if you
Mm.
do, that has to be a delivery that could get any batter out. And I say it in such an extreme because the English bowlers have tried it. They tried it in the second Test match. They tried it in the second innings of the first Test match. Tried it in the first innings of this Test match. So I think Shubman Gill's worked on it a lot, and he's improved quite a bit. Because since Jan, we have lost 13 tosses in a row. The odds are 0.01%, which is equivalent to Karuna smashing another triple ton. Fair. Guys, I came across people telling Bumrah has to adapt himself, or has adapted himself. Now his run up have extended than before. Oh, I don't know.
But how much of that is an adaptation versus a feel thing, right? The reason why, so first of all, Bumrah is an anomaly when it comes to the run up because he's just hopping. There's the momentum he still generates is in the last few.
True.
That's most of the bowling momentum that he generates. So the reason for having a longer run up, you'll have to let me know if this has to do with longer hops or a longer period of him jogging to the crease because that would explain him just taking more time to generate momentum so that it's a little easier on his body.
Oh, fair. Can English cricketer register to IPL auction? Like I want Smith in 2026. I read this news somewhere that Jamie Smith can't register in auction, but can only in 7. I don't know if that's true. I just read it somewhere. I didn't. Thoughts on Italy qualifying for the T20 World Cup? They banned
Congratulations!
T20 cricket at some point.
What a comeback. And I think it's nice because it's always nice to have a new team in the
Yeah, that's true.
mix, more eyeballs. This is Joe Burns, by the way.
Oh yeah.
The
If you guys don't know, I don't know if he's the captain, but yeah, Joe Burns, the Australian opener, is plays for Italy. Right. Uh, I think India good and set with KL and Pant. Hopefully, a lower order keep their wicket. Yeah, that's true. Archer just seems to be releasing the ball on seam, no effort using wrist, but still the ball seems to be reaching 150 km. Seam presentation just looks beautiful on screen. Arvind, that's where that's when you know a bowler is doing
effortless.
they're effortless and doing well. When you would think that he has no wrist behind the ball, there is no way you're releasing the ball that way with such beautiful seam position with no wrist. Like that is when you know the bowler is doing his job very well and effortlessly. Would love a video where you analyze what went wrong with India's tour of New Zealand in 2020.
Interesting. We can get
Yeah,
into
we'll do
that.
that.
Yeah.
All right. Is India getting complacent after a win?
I don't think so. I think India's just for the first time in the series been challenged. To be honest, I think both in the first,
Yeah, true that.
only in the first test, India lost out because of their own mistakes. But for the first time in the test series, it feels like England has actually put up a challenge.
On the human side, shouldn't. That's a good question, actually. Proof. Shouldn't Prasid be given a chance to prove himself? Yeah, he average. Yeah, he was an average. Yeah, he was average the first two test matches, but he improved a bit, and everyone should get a series. Many can't be good at work from day one. Yeah, the only difference is he's gotten test matches before. And you would want to give him chances, except how many as opposed to Not even as opposed to how many chances would you give him and allow him to leak those many runs? Like that's the argument, I guess. Someone said this. Wish more people knew that AC Milan started as a cricket club. I did not know that.
That's a
Worst,
whoa.
yeah, worst run sport in the world. That is so cool, Umang Jain. If that is a fact, that is a very, very interesting fact.
Damn.
In fact, we'll give you another interesting fact. I'm sure most of you guys know already. The oldest cricket series ever played was between Canada and the US.
Bottle
Not even,
cup.
yeah, not even English Australia, but like England Australia, sorry, but Canada and the US, which is a very,
It goes on to this day. It's the oldest tournament or between two nations in any sport.
yeah. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. How does Archer generate more pace more often than Bumrah? Is it a run up thing or just a body thing and a workload thing?
Just three words: braced front leg. If you look at Archer's front foot at the time of releasing the ball, it's straight in the sense that
So
there
is
is no knee
Bumrah's.
bend.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason for why he generates a lot of pace. Something that's good with Archer is also his run up.
Yeah, his run
It's
up. His
yeah,
stride is also very smooth. Like he's not snappy, but it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, there's
it's slow. Yeah,
every momentum that he gathers from his run up is delivered behind the ball, and that allows him to. And he's very strong. He's very athletic. He puts in a lot. Like if you see the way he pulls down his non-bowling arm to release the ball, it's a lot of effort.
I think he's one of the most perfect biomechanics of.
Ironically, gets injured quite a bit. Yes, what I meant was he has started generating momentum before itself, unlike just before the final few moments.
Yeah, so
Oh,
then that's possibly for his body. Just
oh I haven't
easier.
seen that. Interesting. We shall observe. Right. Wow. Kamboj domestic record. He's a raw, uncut diamond at the moment. You guys talking about Kamboj? Karun and I playing well, did all the hard work, seeing off Archer spell, and got out every time between 30s and 40s. Is this his last chance? We think he'll get a couple more.
Yeah, he should. Will he? I'm a little iffy.
Archer, Atkinson, Wood, along with
Oh,
Wood, it seems to be potent attack. Do you think they have a chance against Australia down under if these guys stay fit? If you don't have preview for Ashes, so you guys can answer. Yeah, we won't preview.
yeah.
But what will be? Yeah, I think with the Australia's batting order in shambles right now, I think England have a good chance with that batting order at least.
Let's drop a like if you haven't already. 29 likes. Can we get this up to 50?
500.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Right. I think Brandon Carr scored his highest test score yesterday. Every
Yeah.
team now has an ace to save the day.
I was actually see. I think this was on our Kuldeep video where someone actually put up a pretty good argument to why Kuldeep cannot play, and that's because a lot of the other teams that have fast bowlers are fast bowlers who can actually bat a
Bad,
bit.
yeah.
Vokes, Cars now. Then
Pat
Australia has
Cummins,
Cummins,
Hazelwood.
Stark, Hazelwood can also. So
I mean, Marco Jansen, Rabada, they score runs.
case in point. That's probably why Kuldeep.
Who? Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, I do want to know what this conversation is.
Victim of so
I
lost.
meant Vokes, but it went as Wood, but the preview bowling. Yeah, fair, fair. No, no, that's fair, Arvind. I realized Wood, Vokes, Atkinson, Archer. That's a
That
good.
looks like a
I
pretty
don't think Chris Vokes
decent.
will go down to Australia though. He has a horrible record outside of England, and I don't know how much they trust him anymore outside Australia.
Uh,
Sorry, outside of England. All right. English lower order runs will play a crucial role in the result of this match. Maybe 70, 80 extra runs. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
I
100%.
would drop Karun Nair after this series. He's a traditional red ball player and his defense is top notch. But for the long term, I see him as a bad choice. Vishnu, if he did score, I wouldn't drop him. But he hasn't scored, and if he doesn't score until the series gets over, yeah, then I don't blame you for dropping him. It's 316, lads. We'll take last question. Imagine Quaja against Archer, Wood, and Atkinson. He's now officially an average team farmer. Time for him to go. Yeah, I don't know if Quaja will stay until the Ashes. Okay, so this is very off topic. This is about Australia's opening batting order stuff. The reason they don't want Quaja to retire or to go It's because they don't even have the number 2 set. Of course, it's Sam Constance for now.
Yeah.
He hasn't performed. You're hoping he performs. But what if he doesn't perform? So then you don't have your top 2. Your top 3 is finding feet. Your top 4, you're hoping that he continues his form. Your top 5, yeah, Alex Carey. And yeah, your top
Head
4,
carry.
5, 6 maybe is good. Your head carry is good enough. But you don't have your top 3. And so you want Usman Khawaja to stay there because you're still figuring out your number 2. That's the logic. Gautam Gambhir disagree. Oh yeah, we'll finish on this actually. Vignesh asks, Gautam Gambhir disagrees with Virat bringing his family members photos. Why is so? There are a couple of things. So Gambhir did talk about how this is not a family vacation. You're coming here to represent your country. You can't bring your family. Sunil Gavaskar said the same. Sunil Gavaskar was more passionate about this. He said, "You're going to, yeah, you're representing your country. You're going for a job. You don't take your family member every potential job that you have." What do you think about that?
Damn. See, it depends on how it is, right? Because if it's actually the case where the families are coming and then the players are just like going away with the families and missing team stuff for that, all of that's when it becomes an issue. And I think that's also possibly why this was even raised, because in the BGT, first of all, the whole leaks situation with the media, and then a couple of players not showing up on the team bus, and that's the kind of stuff you don't want, because then your unit becomes fragmented. So from that perspective, it makes sense. But from the perspective that these players are on the road for 250, 300 days, how do you just stay away from family for that long?
Yeah, I completely disagree with the not bringing family bit. I think that's such. I mean, I get the idea that right, like when you work in an office and when you go abroad, you don't take your family. But then
This is
BCCI has enough money. Like,
different. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not an office.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're going to play a sport. If
Yeah.
anything, it's not as serious as going to do an actual job. And so you're playing a sport. Of course, you're representing the country, but you're away from home. Might as well have your family with you.
Yeah, because if you go to an office, you at least come back home every day. This you come back home once, 3 months. It's not. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, I don't think it's comparable to begin with.
Yeah,
I feel like I should retract what I said. It's not comparable, but I think,
gone viral, clipped.
but I don't think like you're representing your country, you're doing a job, you can't have your family there. I think that's very conservative, to say anything, and I think that mindset shows a lot about how not strict, but like how in a box the Indian team management are. But yes, this is what our live has come to. In 11 minutes, the day 3 of the third test match does start. Hopefully, KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant bat for a very long time. Thank you guys so much for joining us on a Saturday afternoon. We'll see you Saturday night at 11:30, post day of the third test match. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Always appreciate the support. Always appreciate the chat. So yeah, thank you guys so much.